Alrighty, here we are. So we are going to today talking about place value through the millions. And we're going to talk about how to write numbers up to the 100 millions in standard form, written form, and expanded form. So these are some important vocabulary terms that you are going to need to know. So standard form is how you usually see numbers. So the word standard means usual or how things are usually seen. So standard form is how you usually see numbers. So if I write the number 14,897, that right there is written in standard form. That's how you normally see numbers, is in standard form. Okay? I'd say the second most common form that you might see numbers in is called written form. So written form is when you write numbers in words. So I'm going to show you with that same number, 14,897, how I would write that in written form. So it's 14,897. That is written form. I would say those are the two forms that students are usually most comfortable with. So standard form is just how we normally see numbers. Written form, again, what it means is pretty much in the word, right? You write down the word for that number. And then the last one, which is probably going to be our trickiest form that we work with for today, is expanded form. Expanded form is when you break down a number by the value of each digit. Okay? So I'm going to show you how you probably worked with expanded form in 3rd and 4th grade, and hopefully this is like ringing some bells for you. You remember that. So for 14,000, I have the 1, and I'm actually going to use my tool. Go back to my text box. So the 1 in 14,000 is worth 10,000, so I'd write it as 10,000. The 4 is in the thousands place, so it's worth 4,000. The 8 in the hundreds place is worth 800. The 9 in the tens place is worth 90. And the 7 is in the ones place, so it's worth 7. So that's expanded form. Okay, so those are the 3 forms that we are really going to be working with today, is standard form, written form, and expanded form. So these are things that you have worked with before, especially for standard and written form. The numbers are just going to be a lot bigger because now we're in 5th grade. And actually, as you move up in grade levels, you usually move up a period. So like kind of kindergarten, 1st grade, you work in the ones period. 2nd and 3rd grade, you work with that thousands period. And then into 4th and 5th grade, you go to the millions and the billions period. So let's look at our examples that we have here for us. I'm going to see if my hand tool works. Sorry. This Holtz is having technical difficulties. There we go. So let's look at our first example here. It says the distance from Earth to the sun is 92,955,793 miles. Use the place value chart to list the value of each digit. So when they say that, they want us to write this big number on the chart here. So what I do is I always start with the last place value. And someone might be thinking, why don't you start with the bigger place value? I don't start with the largest, the greatest digit, because I have to start at the end to know where I put my commas, because I put commas after every 3 numbers from the last digit in a number. So I see 3 is my last digit, so I'm going to put a 3 here. 9 is my second to last digit, so I'm going to put it here. Then I have the 7. And then I see the comma, and that matches right up with my place value chart. Those commas match right up. Then I have a 5 in the ones, thousands, a 5 in the 10,000s, and a 9 in the 100,000s. And again, now I see a comma that matches up. Then I have a 2 in the 1 millions and a 9 in the 10 millions. So as you can see, I started from the ones period and worked my way up because I actually didn't need all the numbers in this place value chart. I did not have a digit in the 100 millions. So if I would have started my number way over here, I would have had a completely different number than if I started from the ones period. So I always need to make sure that I'm starting from the ones period. Okay, on to our next example. Okay. Okay. So for our first questions, we are going to practice on writing the value. Now I'm going to say writing the value is the number one thing that I see fifth graders get confused with as we're working with place value. The value means how much is that number worth. It does not mean what place value it is in. So for example, in our first number, I see that 6 is highlighted. I sometimes have students say, well, that's the hundreds place, and then they write hundreds right here. But that's actually not what this number or this question is asking for. It's asking, because that 6 is in the hundreds place, what is its value? What is its worth? Okay. So who can tell me what is that 6 worth? What is that 6 worth? Jorge, what would be the value of a 3 in the 100,000s?
300,000.
300,000. So if I'm not sure how many zeros to write, this would always confuse me. When I was younger, I write the number and then I count how many digits are after it. So I see there's 1 number, 2 numbers, then a comma, and then 3 zeros after the comma. So that's how I write 300,000. That is the value. So now I have one last one where I have to find the value. So for this one, I see that the 9 is highlighted. Who can tell us first what place value is that 9 in? What place value is that 9 in? Yes, that 9 is in the thousands, so its value would be 9,000. So 9, and again, if I don't know how many zeros to write after, look, after that 9, there's a comma, and then there's 3 numbers here, so I have to make those all zeros. So whenever you're writing the value of a number, only that first number should have a value or a digit other than 0. Notice how in all of them, a digit, then zeros, digit, then zeros, digit, then zeros. So make sure when you're writing the value that you have zeros after that place value. So now we have to write each number in word form. Who can tell me what is word form? What did I tell you? You either see word or written form, they mean the same thing. So what does word form mean? Use for word form is you write it like you say it. So you have to be able to say the big number in order to be able to write it. And this is something that usually with the big numbers is a little tricky. We'll probably be practicing this more tomorrow. But to write it in word form, let me go back to my tools. Okay. I'm gonna see if I can get a text box. Okay, so to write a number in word form, I have to be able to say it. So for this one, let's see if I can get a text box. Let's see if I can draw one. Where is it? Okay. So I have a 5 and I have to think of what place value it's in. So I'm going to write the number first. So that's a 5. And I know that's in the millions place. Whenever I see a comma in the number, that's when I know I need to have a place value word. So I would have 5, and that's the million. So I'd have 5 million, and I put in a comma just like I would if I were writing the number in standard form. So now what I love about big numbers is they're split into chunks. So this middle chunk here, I know how to say that number, 901. Probably since second grade, I've been able to say that number. That number is 901. So I'm going to write 901. But then I need to say the place value word because I see a comma. So I need to say the period that it is in. And I know that that's the thousands period because it goes the ones, the thousands, then the millions. So I have 901,000. Okay. Then I just have that last chunk, the 4, the 5, and the 2. And like I said, the really nice thing is I don't have to worry about all this mumbo jumbo beforehand. I can just look at that chunk after the comma. 4, 5, 2. I've been able to say that number probably since first or second grade. And that number is 452. So notice how I write it in word form. I break it up in chunks. I just say the number that's inside that place value. And then I put in the period that it's in that we talked about earlier. And you can even see on my other side, the ones, thousands, or millions. So really the only place value words you ever add in are either million or thousand. You just need to know where to put it. Okay. Now our next one is we have to write it in expanded form. We have to be able to write this in expanded form. So to write in expanded form, that's when I write it out like a really long number sentence. You might remember that from 3rd or 4th grade. Now in 5th grade, writing in expanded form does get a little tricky, and we're actually going to be practicing this tomorrow as well. We're going to spend 2 days on this first lesson. So what I have to do is I have to break it down by digit. So I start with the 5. Okay. And then I have to write it as its place value. And to do that, I actually use some multiplication, and I do 5 times its place value. And that 5 is in the millions place, so I'm actually going to do 5 times 1 million. Okay. And again, please make sure you're getting down my examples, because what I'm writing down for you is going to directly connect to the work that you have to try on your own for today. Then I look at my next digit. So my next digit is that 9. So I'm going to write down the 9. And can anyone tell me what place value is that 9 in? What place value is the 9 in 5,901,452? So to do that, I have to do 9 times. And if I'm not sure how many zeros to put in, I see that that 9 is right here. And I see I put a 1 there, and I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. So I do 1, 2, and a comma, then 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I use this place value chart to help me out. Then I move on to my next digit. So see, I'm just moving down the list. It is a 0. And whenever you see a 0 in your head, you should be like, yes, because it means you don't have to do anything. And we all love when we have to do a little less work. So the 0, it's a 0. It doesn't really have any value. It's just a placeholder. So then I'm going to move on to the 1. So I'm going to write the 1 for my expanded form. And then I'm going to do 1 times its place value. Who can tell me what place value is that 1 in? And I'll move my chart just so you can kind of see. what place value is that 1 in? Okay, so I have 1 times 1,000. Then I move on and I see my 4 is my next digit. So I do 4 times, and who can tell me what place value is the 4 in? What place value is the 4 in?
The 4 is in the hundreds.
Yep. So I do 4 times 100. Okay. Then I'm going to add on my next digit. So my next digit is that 5, and I have to times it by its place value. So who can tell me what place value is that 5?
Tens.
In the tens? So I do 5 times 10. Okay. Then I have my last digit, which is the 2. And who can tell me what place value is that 2 in? What place value is that 2 in? Yep, it is in the ones place. So I would do 2 times 1. Okay. And that's how I would write that in expanded form. Okay. So I want you to make sure that you have all of that written down, because now I'm going to talk with you about what you're going to do independently today. Because we had a rough start with the other group, I'm going to make your assignment a little shorter than what I was originally planning, and we're going to try these other skills tomorrow. So this is my 10-second warning to get that down, then I am going to have to leave this screen.